Do you have trouble making sales quotas every month? Do you not look forward to your cranky boss or coworker? Do you have trouble selling to that customer that's hard to sell to? Well, then this video on cultural nuances should help you. You're probably asking, how does cultural nuance have anything to do with sales? Well, sales is all about profit and making the most profit using people's strengths. Second, sales is also about adapting. So it's not about you. So stop talking about yourself. Being a manager, being a salesperson is all about the customer. It's all about the other person. Another thing would be, you're not in Kansas anymore. This is a modern world. You have to adapt and you have to know where you are and know the community that you're in order to sell and make the most profit. Number 4, you also have to have some kind of a system for your workplace. Maybe people are not getting along, there's drama, there's miscommunication, people can't work together, they can't work on projects together. That's another problem that will, again, end up hurting your profits and your revenue. And then last but not least, you have to learn about culture because it's important for our society and it's important to just be a good person and an educated person. So first thing, what does culture mean? I mean, that's a complicated word. There's so many different types of ways to describe culture. Well, what I want to say is that there's many different ways to think about culture, and as long as you understand all of them, then you can sell and adapt and create a sales environment at your workplace that is very respectful and matching to all these different types of cultures. So first things first, when I say culture, I don't mean stereotype, racial profiling, and also it's also about working together. So we want to not just, breed some kind of a competitive environment and put other people down. We want everyone to work together and create a wonderful sales environment at your workplace. Last but not least, the word egocentric is really important. So culture is really, really crucial to know how you are coming across to other people, how other people are perceiving you and you are perceiving them, and don't be egocentric. Make sure you always can adapt and work with other people. Okay, matching. The answer to understanding cultural nuances, the solutions here are that you should be very, very adaptable and be matching to people and environments. So if you're living in Texas, you have to understand that culture. If you're working with people that are all, from Beijing and born and raised in Beijing, then that would be another culture you'd have to adapt to. 3, it's also about personal emotional baggage. So learning about each individual person that works in your firm or each salesperson, or if you are a salesperson, learning about each customer and each client's personal emotional baggage and how that ties into their behavior, their desires and their wants, and ultimately their profits. Okay, cultural emotional baggage. That's another idea. That idea has to do with a collective, possibly genetic history or memory of pain and past dispossession. So an example would be, in Hawaii, Hawaii was overthrown, and so there is a certain kind of underlying idea that, there's some Hawaiians that have different disagreements about that. So you would want to understand the history of the place and understand the pain, the collective pain, so you can respect it and ultimately acknowledge it and move through it to the solution. Another thing you can do is you can ask questions, you can listen, don't judge, and always be solution oriented. Don't get too caught up in the painful memories, but also create solutions whenever you can. Okay, subcultures and activities. So not only is there a personal culture, there's also subcultures. That could be activities. So maybe, someone's artistic and so they identify with the art culture. Or maybe they're a gamer. Another subculture would be gay lesbian. That's another type of thinking about culture within different larger cultures. Larger cultures might be, where are they from, and also what they identify with. So a great example would be myself. I look like a white woman. I'm originally from Boston. I lived in the mainland, but I do identify with the Hawaiian culture. So what that means is that I actually really love Hawaiian food and simple living and just owning a truck and posting up on the beach somewhere, fishing. Also, I really like just hanging out with family and a lot of values that have to do with aloha and just being a good person and being polite. So those types of values actually put me into a group of friends that are locals here. So I really enjoy that. But on the outside, if you were to stereotype, I look like I'm, from suburbia and I only hang out with suburban people. So make sure you understand, depending on what culture they identify as well as subculture. So another example would be, an Asian guy might have been born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he might be identifying with a punk rock subculture. So again, you can't just see right off the bat and assume, okay, Asian guy, you have to understand his culture, where he's identifying with, where he's born and raised, what kind of activities he likes to do, and that might give you more of an idea of what kind of culture he would identify with. So culture is very fluid. What are you going to do? So once you identify all these things, you're matching, you're understanding how to communicate, and also if you don't understand already, you should do some research on the beliefs, systems, structures, communication styles, the views on class, views on women, roles of gay, lesbian, expectations, tradition, superstition, food even. You should do research, and that might mean going to a restaurant of a culture you don't know about and trying that out and learning about as many cultures as you can. Just spend your time on your free time doing research so that when you do your sales job, you can actually identify and understand and match that culture. Another thing is to identify regional differences within countries. So looking at language, different idiomatic expressions, different slang, and also experience. So collective experience. What are those regions of those different countries, normally akin to? What's very common? Look at statistics. But there is one form of culture that's pretty universal, and that's the smile. So if you ever get stuck, just remember to smile. That's another thing. Okay, so what do you do? What do you do once you identify and you match all these cultures? How do you actually sell to people that have different cultural nuances than yourself? Well, you want to say positive, healing words and phrases. You're not going to want to, match them so much that you're taking advantage and manipulating. You want to say things that might be helpful for that customer or client or that person that works for you in a way that's gentle, kind of baby steps. Again, like I said, you can ask questions. You can do the yes and, which means you always say yes and. Another thing would be don't judge. So make sure you completely listen to the person, and just kind of try to overall take baby steps. So whether you're selling to somebody or whether you're working with someone in a workplace, baby steps is the answer. So being able to get to the point where you can agree on something, even if it is a very small thing, you can agree on something. It might be the kind of food that you remember eating from the culture of for example, Northern India. You can have that as well. So it's great to know language. It's great to really, really have a wide variety of cultural experiences. But if not, then maybe just take baby steps to try and agree on one little thing, and that's something that you can use to then have something you can relate, and then create profit and sell from there. So if you have any other questions or any other comments, please subscribe. Thank you so much.